Okay, so you head down to the driving range with your full intentions of improving, fixing a potential problem that you've got, or just, I don't know, you might have finished your day at work, you just fancy hitting a few shots, but you want to sort of delegate enough time inside your practice sessions to make sure you're improving, and that's exactly what this video is about. So first thing you do, you separate just 12 balls. There we go, I can count. Okay, so first things first, you are going to hit 4 shots. But what you're going to do is you're going to use your bucket, okay, like so, and you are going to place the bucket opposite the golf ball. And all you're going to do is you're just going to leave enough space so that the club head can get through, but don't be too generous, okay? Now what this is doing, this first little exercise, is this is just sort of stopping golfers that swing too much in to out or too much out to in, and it's just getting you warmed up, making sure that you're managing probably the most important thing in the golf swing, which is that club path. And that's the first thing you do. So you get yourself set up and you hit 4 shots, like so. And what you should find is that you're going to make 4 shots where you're going to miss the bucket each and every time. But what's also going to happen is hopefully, maybe not in the first couple of shots, but you start to hit the golf ball pretty straight. So this is a really important thing, because if you go down to that practice session and you start swinging too much in to out, too much out to in, you lose the club path, you start doing things like shanking, mishitting, then you start panicking, and all it takes is a bucket and 4 shots. It's my 4th one, and it just gets you aware of the club path. Perfect. So that's the first thing that you do. Now, why don't you do the whole session like that? Well, arguably, you don't need the whole session to do that. You just need a few shots. So we need to do something else productive now. Now, what's the next thing that we need to do? Well, I'm going to show you. This next part, you're going to need an alignment stick, and you're also going to need either use your bucket, or if you're lucky that you're on grass, then you're going to be absolutely fine and you won't need it. Now, what this is going to do, and this is a big thing that I've been doing recently with my students online, it's helping them out a lot, is this is going to help you start the downswing correctly. And you're just going to place it in the bucket, and it's going to be positioned, I would say, sort of parallel. Let's get it in there. Okay, so you might need to fiddle around a little bit like I've done, but you're trying to get it parallel towards the shaft angle of the golf club. And again, I'll leave it down to each golfer. We're not going to measure this, but what you're going to do, it's going to be positioned obviously to the sort of trail side of you, okay, like so. And as you can see here, the golf ball is still in line with the bucket, so I'm still sort of got that feeling of that club path, but with this protruding bit of the cane here, what this is going to stop me doing is stop getting too sort of spinny, or have that sort of problem where you swing too much over the top. I see this a lot with students. They start trying to work on rotation and they go too much this way. What we're trying to do is you're trying to get those arms nice and connected and get that feeling of the arms coming down to the side of you. Now, some of you might have questions about that, and one of the ways that your arms move to the side of you is with a separation in the golf swing, which means when your lower body moves away from your upper body, this gives you the ability for your arms to come down. But what I'm also saying is that might not happen naturally for every golfer. But what we want to do is we want to refrain from that. So you get yourself set up again, okay? And like I said, if you're a little bit apprehensive about that being there, then put a head cover on it, okay? Maybe cut yourself a little bit of a paw noodle, stick that on there. So if you do catch it, you don't find any discomfort. And again, you hit another sort of 4 shots, okay, with that same feeling. And this should make a big difference, especially golfers who struggle with spinny motions. If that trail hip thumps forward, all of a sudden you're going to feel a little bit sort of panicked by that. So it will encourage you to do a nice turn and then just sort of drop that hip back. And I promise you, if you are brave enough to practice with this, it will change your golf swing dramatically, because I can even feel myself that it's making me transition with more of a movement dropping in towards that heel. And it's going to work out perfectly for you. Now, you've done that, okay? You've done 2 very, very important exercises. There's one thing left to do, and we're going to get rid of the bucket. We've got kick it, maybe just place it. We've got 4 shots left. Okay. Now, what you've really done within the side of this session so far is you've managed to get the club path under control. You've then managed to start the downswing correctly with your body and your hands and arms. But there's one little thing left, and it's probably the hardest one, and it's getting the hands forward. And that's why you need your alignment stick. So you then do 4 short swings, place the alignment stick underneath, so you have about, let's just say, a foot sticking out the end, and you're just going to hit short shots like so. Okay. Now, what's happening here, and I'll just sort of demonstrate my 4 shots first. I don't want you to think I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, but this is the hardest thing for amateurs to change, because what this is doing is this is encouraging me to get my hand path further forward. But this is the thing that most amateur golfers tend to struggle with. And what you'll see coming up onto the screen now are students from the Facebook group. And you'll see a multitude of different swings there, different sort of, I say faults, different characteristics we can class them as faults. We've got some golfers where they are moving too much off towards their right hand side in that backswing position. We've got golfers that are getting too sort of spinny and a bit more over the top. We've got a bit early hippie, got some various faults in there. But what you need to do, and this is a really important thing, is you need to become very aware of your faults. Okay, so if you have golf lessons and the pro says you are standing up and you need to stop standing up, that's great, because that pro has diagnosed the problem for you. But you can't necessarily just tell yourself to stay down. It doesn't work that way. Now, some of the stuff that I do on the channel is to harness awareness. So if I talk about left hip back, I talk about pushing pressure, that's so you guys can just sort of identify whether you feel like you're doing that movement correctly or enough. But what you need to do, and that's exactly what this exercise is doing, you need to put those feelings, those thoughts, those elements of consciousness into a full swing and practice. And those things that we've practiced today, the bucket opposite the club head, that controls your club path. So that will eliminate a lot of mistakes for golfers. The second one is probably the big one, because by placing the cane as I did, that will stop any real improper hip action. Any golfer that gets spinny over the top, that you'll kick that out immediately if you're brave enough to do that. So again, you can blend those things together. And then the last one, which is the missing ingredient, is getting the hands ahead. Okay, and that is the hardest one. That's the thing that most amateur golfers get more casty throwing the club. They don't bring the hands in. But if you can get those feelings together in your practice sessions and you do those exercises, you become better and better at them. And those are the kind of things that we see the tour pros doing on the range, especially if they're working on something. So it's a really, really important thing that you practice and do your best with those. And update me. Remember, it's absolutely free to subscribe here, but it's also free to join the Facebook group like other golfers. And it'd be great to welcome you in, and you guys can practice these things as well and see how your progression goes. But those are things that I'd certainly be suggesting that you do. See you guys again really soon.